Right now, somewhere near you, there is a drug. Not hidden, not illegal, not remarkable in any way. A cup of coffee, a glass of wine, a painkiller in a bathroom cabinet. Something you consume without thinking twice, without wondering how it got here, without asking the question that nobody seems to ask. Who was first? Someone at some point in history was the first human being to experience what you experience every morning when the caffeine hits. The first person to feel the particular warmth of alcohol moving through them. The first person to discover that a specific plant, chewed or smoked or brewed, did something to the mind that nothing else did. They had absolutely no idea what was about to happen. And what happened next, and why humans kept going back, reveals something about the brain that is far older than civilization, far older than language, and far stranger than most people ever consider. Let's start with how discovery actually works. The romantic version is intentional. A curious ancient human, experimenting methodically, testing one plant after another until they found something interesting. The reality is almost certainly messier. Hunger, desperation, fermentation accidents, rotting fruit eaten because there was nothing else, stored grain that had gotten wet and started to bubble, consumed anyway because discarding food was not an option when food was scarce. The first person to get drunk was almost certainly not trying to get drunk. They ate or drank something that had fermented without knowing fermentation was even a process. And then something happened to them that had never happened to any human before. The world softened. The fear quieted. The body relaxed in a way that had no explanation. And they did it again. Archaeological evidence of deliberate alcohol production goes back at least 13,000 years, to a site called Raqefet Cave in Israel, where researchers found residue in stone mortars consistent with intentional fermentation of grain. But the accidental discovery almost certainly predates this by tens of thousands of years. Every fruiting plant in human environments was a potential fermentation accident waiting to happen. And the animals in those environments were demonstrating the effects long before any human made the connection deliberate. This is where it gets interesting. Humans were not the first animals to seek altered states. Elephants in Africa seek out fermented marula fruit and show visible signs of intoxication after eating it. Reindeer in Siberia actively seek out Amanita muscaria mushrooms, the red-capped mushroom with white spots, and become visibly altered after consuming them. Birds in North America eat fermented berries and cannot fly straight afterward. Jaguars in the Amazon chew on Banisteriopsis vine specifically for its psychoactive effects. Cats respond to nepentolactone, the active compound in catnip, in a way that neuroscientists describe as resembling opioid intoxication. The drive toward altered states is not a human invention. It predates human cognition entirely, which raises a question that is harder to answer than it sounds. Why does it work at all? Here is the part that most people have never been told. Psychoactive substances work because your brain already has receptors built for them. Cannabis works because you have an endocannabinoid system that produces its own cannabinoids, compounds that regulate mood, memory, and pain. Opioids work because you have opioid receptors that exist to receive your brain's own endorphins. Psychedelics work by binding to serotonin receptors. Alcohol affects GABA receptors that your brain uses constantly. These substances do not work by introducing something foreign. They work by fitting, with varying degrees of precision, into systems that already exist. The brain was built with these locks. The plants happen to produce keys. This is not a coincidence. It is co-evolution. Plants develop psychoactive compounds over millions of years, mostly as deterrents, compounds that affect the nervous systems of insects and animals that try to eat them. But some of the effects on the much more complex human brain are not deterrents. They are something else. And the brain, which was already built to seek reward and return to sources of it, learned to seek them out. Now, about the oldest one. Researchers studying ancient human drug use have found evidence of cannabis use in burial sites in Central Asia dating back 2,500 years. Evidence of opium poppy cultivation in Europe going back 6,000 years. Coca leaves in South American burial sites 8,000 years old. Evidence of peyote use in the American Southwest reaching back 5,700 years. But the strongest evidence for the oldest deliberately used psychoactive substance is not any of these. It is alcohol. Specifically, alcohol derived from fermented honey, mead, which some researchers believe may have been produced and consumed by early humans or even pre-human hominids as far back as several 100,000 years. The evidence is indirect, but the argument is simple. Honey ferments naturally and rapidly when it gets wet. Early humans knew where honey was. Bees produce honey in environments that also produce rain. The accident would have been essentially inevitable. What happened after the accident is the entire human story. We built rituals around it. We built religions around it. We built trade routes and economies and social structures around the substances that altered how the mind experienced the world. Every culture in recorded human history has used some form of psychoactive substance. There is no known human society that has not. The anthropologist Andrew Weil argued in 1972 that the desire to alter consciousness periodically is a fundamental human appetite, as basic as the desire for food or sleep or connection. Not a cultural failure, not a weakness, a drive. So the next time you make your morning coffee or open a bottle at the end of the day, consider what you are actually doing. You are not doing something modern. You are doing something ancient. Something that the first human to do it did not understand, could not explain, and could not stop doing. Neither, apparently, could anyone who came after.